Welcome back to User Friendly. We've got an exciting segment coming up here, and this is going to be a new feature that we'll have on the show. This is going to have an accompanying video podcast on the website at userfriendlyshow.com, and as we go over the topic, you'll see why that's going to be important. But check it out, userfriendlyshow.com, under the podcast link. It will be posted before the podcast of the actual show, so while the show's still airing, the podcast of this piece will be online, so feel free to go and check it out. So, Gretchen, what are we talking about?
Lightsabers.
Yay! This is actually a really interesting topic. I know that as I've gotten into be involved with cosplay a little bit more, the Gunji Wookiee character, as well as the Sith character that I do, Palpatine Darth Sidious, who I'm told I don't even really need my makeup for sometimes, all carry lightsabers, and so that needed to be something that I needed to pick up for use with the cosplay, and found out that in some cases this can be more than a month's rent. And these things range from a couple of dollars for an inexpensive toy up to a couple of thousands of dollars. So there's a lot of different things in between there. Now, you know, Gretchen, you and Jeremy have a lot of lightsabers.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about them?
Well, when we first started collecting the lightsabers, we first saw a large group of them, like, available in the toy section, like at Walmart.
Yeah, that was where we first saw them, you know, just a toy. Like, okay,
yeah.
Cool, that's neat.
Yeah, and these ones are made by Hasbro. And they're pretty well constructed. It's a lot better than what was offered when we were kids, or when I was a kid.
I had a black flashlight that had a green plastic tube on it.
I remember those. They telescoped.
But mine didn't. It was just a big solid plastic tube.
Mine did, and then it fell off.
Yeah, I didn't have the telescoping thing, and they weren't combat ready. You know, if you hit anything, that was the end of them. So these ones you can do some light tapping, the kids' ones. You wouldn't really want to get carried away because you probably would break it. But they have nice little light switches here that are at the bottom so that you don't accidentally keep turning it on. And I'm going to turn on this is the Hasbro toy. Not very loud. You can sort of hear it hum. It has a nice glowing light. And you can, when you swish it around, you can kind of hear like the lightsaber
hum, yeah. But they do work really well if you go for a walk in the twilight.
Oh yeah,
cars can see you really, really well.
They're great for that.
Well, I know I saw a story where a police officer back east was actually directing traffic with a lightsaber, so they do have that use.
So these ones tend to run from, what is that, about $35?
$35 to $60.
Yeah,
depending on where you get them.
So if you're a starter Jedi or Padawan, this is a good way to go without spending a lot of money.
So that blade looks like to be about 2.5 feet long, maybe.
Yeah, and there's different ones. I have the Anakin Darth Vader one that switches between red and blue, which is kind of fun.
So for those listening on the radio, this one has a blue color to it.
That's the Obi-Wan.
This is Obi-Wan's.
Okay, so it's just got the one color. And do you just use a battery in that, or?
Yeah, and you can change the batteries. There's like screws where you can take out the thing and replace it. Okay. But it's just like a regular battery.
Okay, so it's just very basic. So $30, $35, and you would find that at Walmart or Target, I would imagine.
Yeah, places like that.
Okay,
and so Hasbro apparently started making an upgraded version.
Yes, it's the Black Series.
Yeah, and I thought it was called Force Effects, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
This is a black. They have the Force Effects ones. Those are the $150 lightsabers at Walmart. There's the Darth Vader, there's the Anakin, and then there's a Luke.
Yeah.
It's the green one from Return of the Jedi.
These seem to be really nice. Now, Jeremy has the Kylo Ren.
Yes, that's because I play that character.
Okay, so really quick,
it's very heavy.
For anybody that doesn't know, the names of these things, are these based on what they would have looked like in the movie?
Yes.
Okay, so the Kylo Ren, which we're about to look at, would be the one that he would have had on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the crossguard T-shaped one. That is an odd design. I find hard to use.
It is very heavy and cumbersome. And one other thing is if you're watching the podcast, Jeremy has altered his. And I'll have him explain that process. But go ahead and turn it on so people can hear it.
Sounds like it's growling.
Yeah,
it does growl.
It's like a broken lightsaber. It sounds odd. The lights flicker on the blade, so that it's not consistent, solid color. And I actually looked online and found several tutorials on how to make the blade jagged. Because when you buy it, you get the clear plastic blade that's very smooth. And obviously, if you're going to do a character and you want people to think, "Oh, hey, that's Kylo Ren," you have to make the blade all jagged. So I bought the plastic fluorescent light tube covers and cut them to the right shape. And then I put the clear epoxy on it, and then I sprayed it with the transparent or translucent red spray paint.
Now, cosplayers in general, do they modify their stuff quite often? Is this normal?
Usually.
Okay.
Yeah, because they want it to be even closer to what it looks like on either if it's a cartoon or a movie. They want it to be as close as possible.
Now, could you actually fight with that?
Oh, I can, but I don't want to hit it really hard. But blade is fairly sturdy, but not like I'm not gonna. It's not an Ultra Saber or Kyber Light.
Okay.
So and you wouldn't want to damage the coverings that he put on. He'd want to take the coverings off if he wanted to do any kind of combat.
So how much did that one cost?
It was I got it on sale for $170, I think.
Yeah, or somewhere around there. Yeah.
And that was from just a store, or?
Yeah, I got it online because this local store didn't have one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so that's the Hasbro line, and I think Hasbro has a really good relationship with the Lucasfilm people. So a lot of their stuff looks really like what it's supposed to be.
They bought Kenner. Kenner was the one that did all the toys from the very first movie and whatnot. So they're doing all the toys now.
Yeah.
So they have their relationship and they get all the models and all this.
Okay, so it's a licensed product, just like an action figure or something would be. Okay.
Right. So they're able to really make it look like the screen props.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we have another group. If you want to spend more money. There's another company called Ultra Saber, and I actually own a couple of theirs. And they're a bit spendy, but one of the things that I like about the Ultra Sabers is the sound. Let's hope she turns on and I didn't drain the battery.
That was loud.
It is loud. That thing scares me sometimes.
Yeah, can you imagine having this turn on in the dead of night? And these ones have the... Like if you hit it, you have combat. They have different degrees of blades that you can buy. So if you really want to go at it like a bunch of Crusaders, you can. Mm-hmm. You just have to buy the right kind of blade.
Now, there are actually groups out there that fight with these.
There are combat groups. There's a group that's been making the rounds at Comic-Con that they don't do combat with the lightsabers, but they use it as an exercise form.
And do you know the name of the group offhand?
Not offhand, no.
Okay.
But, combat, it's not combat, but Jedi.
They're actually, I know who you're talking about, and they're really nice people.
Yeah, I saw them at
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and find out who they are. We'll put it on the social media. But now that blade, for anybody seen on the podcast, lit up blue. Does the blade color change on that?
No. This one stays the same, though. All right, there's something complicated about this one. When I bought it with a special computer chip that I could hook it up to my laptop, and everything was all prepared to make this work. And I had Windows 7, and then my laptop died, and I got stuck with Windows 8, and nothing worked right. So. I've never changed the color, even though that particular lightsaber from Ultra Saber should be able to change the colors.
Okay, so it actually has a USB, so you can go in and play around with it.
There was software that you downloaded and all kinds of things like that. And so it was a really kind of a neat idea, but it was a complicated process.
And they might have updated the software by now.
Probably. And I have another saber that I just kind of decided, you know what, I'm just going to get one color and just do it that way. And they have great sound. That's one of the things that I really liked about their product.
Well, it looks like it's well built. It's actually a metal grip and everything.
And it has a good feel, good balance to it. Now, let's see, was that a year ago that we ran into that other group that started making sabers? They were fairly recent.
Are you talking about Kyberlight?
Yeah.
About a year ago now, yeah.
They did a Kickstarter campaign. Mm-hmm. I saw that. It was late at night. I found it online. And I thought, well, okay, it's a lightsaber. It's $200 to do their Kickstarter campaign for the most basic lightsaber. I should have gotten the thing so we could have each gotten one.
I know.
But it was just kind of like at the late at night. I was like, oh, I'll just get one. And so I got into the Kickstarter campaign, and I got the basic lightsaber, and it came with three basic pieces. There are 33 different pieces now that you can buy. You've got different emitters that you can put on there. You've got different sleeves or handles that you can put on there, and there are different pommels that you can put on there.
So they have a wonderful flexibility of variety.
Yeah, you can make it look like anything you want.
Yeah, which is really kind of a fun deal. I'm kind of locked in with my Ultra Saber, but I like the Ultra Saber's sound better.
Yeah, I'm not cool. The sound is okay. It's not the greatest though. But you've got.
There's kind of a strange pulsing sound that.
But the coolest part for me was this.
Oh,
yes. It's green.
So here's where you have to get onto the podcast.
An off-white color. Here's pink. There's a yellowy green. There's a light purple.
So you're
yellow,
able to change the
blue,
colors just with the push of a button.
Push of a button. And
so,
once I stop the button, like I like the blue. If I turn it off, and then I turn it back on again, it stays blue.
Right.
So it stays with the last selection you made. But there's 20 different colors that this thing comes built with.
Which is really nice, because if you're a cosplayer and you got limited funds, and you have characters like maybe say one's a Sith, or maybe one's a Jedi that carries like a gold-colored blade, you only need one saber, and then you can change the different pieces on the handle. So this is really kind of a cool, creative
You need one
idea.
small Allen wrench, and you can change this thing with 33 different pieces. You can make a lot of different lightsabers.
I know with the Kyber lights, this is the kind that I ended up with for my cosplay, and I ended up with two of them. Long story as to how that happened, but they actually had an adapter to be able to put them together, so you have the double blade capability, which I thought was really kind of cool. And the other thing I know about them is the blades are warranted. If you ever break them in combat, they will replace them.
Yeah, exactly. They warranty their blade. You can do anything you want with it. If it breaks, they'll replace it. I love that.
So wouldn't that make that kind of a desirable one if you were actually going to go and fight with these?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and there's another feature that they did was they called them daylight blades. So I'll pull those out.
And for those of you who are at home and can't see this, they all come with a white or somewhat translucent blade that's a light color.
Okay.
And Kyber Light came out with these daylight blades that are made in green plastic, yellow plastic, blue plastic, and red plastic.
I can tell by the crinkling that you haven't pulled those out yet. So,
I haven't used them yet. I keep thinking about it, like I'm going to do that one of these days, and I just haven't done it. But I just store them in the plastic.
But if you were doing something out in an outside courtyard during the daylight, and you were doing like a combat, situation,
or just in a parade.
Oh yeah,
you wanted your lightsaber to be a green color because if you're outside and you turn it on, it's not incredibly bright during full daylight. But the daylight blade will give you a green blade to work with.
Now, do they still light up?
It will, but just it's not as bright outside.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, what is the significance of the different colors of the blades?
Well, it tends to be that if you are using the dark side of the Force, you tend to have a red lightsaber blade.
See, that's the thing. There were rules based on who did what in the Jedi Order as to what color lightsaber you had. It used to be,
it was part
green,
of. It's now part of Legends.
The green did one group, and the blue did one group, and the yellow did one group.
Right.
And they kind of changed that, and now it's based on what.
I don't know what it's based on now.
Well, it's your connection to the Force, but you can pick up a crystal, and it's a green crystal or a blue crystal, but it's white until you pick it up.
Okay, so all of this
I still don't know.
It's complicated.
There's some argument
like,
there.
And people will, I'm sure anyone who wants to get out there on, one user-friendly on Twitter or Facebook will argue with me about what the connection to the Force and color of lightsaber means, but...
Actually, if anybody wants to talk about that on the air, let us know, because that's a whole nother conversation. I know this has to go with the mythology of Star Wars and then Legends and canon, and it all gets very complicated from there.
It is very, very
complicated. So, unfortunately, you can't go pick up a crystal in your backyard and build a lightsaber, at least not that I'm aware of.
Well, you could, but it wouldn't be a lightsaber because we don't have the power source and the right kind of crystal to make a blade out of plasma.
Okay, so if you are able to do that, first of all, don't try it at home, but when you do, let us know, because we want to know how you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want a lightsaber?
Who wouldn't want to walk around with a personal nuclear accelerator on their back powering their lightsaber blade?
That's interesting.
I
Okay.
thought you were going to go Ghostbusters there for a moment.
I'm pretty sure you're going to need a small nuclear power source to.
Well, it does
that
seem like
blade.
the handle's smaller than a proton pack. So,
Yeah, well,
all right. So, if somebody wanted to get one of these, a Kyber Light or an Ultra Saber, how much are you looking at to purchase one?
Okay, now I know the Ultra Sabers. You can get what I call a Ninja Saber, and for everybody, this is a good podcast thing. I just turned it on. There's no sound.
Okay.
But it's a sturdy, well-made little lightsaber, and a lot of people like these. And these can be. This particular one was part of the grab bag. So if I spent a certain amount, they would just throw something extra into the shipment. And
that's always a cool thing to do with Ultra Sabers is if you can get people, get like 3 or 4 friends who all want to buy cheap lightsabers, you can buy 4 or 5 lightsabers that don't have a sound, but with a handle you like and the blade color you want. You can get 3 or 4 of them, and then if you spend the right amount of money, you'll get a free one.
Yeah,
and that could be anything.
We're talking probably around $500 to $600.
Wow,
they are not cheap. Though I have had pretty good luck that when something broke on one of mine, I was able to ship it back, and they fixed it for free.
This is Ultra Saber, so they stand behind their product.
Yeah, they do, and which is really nice. There are a lot of other like lightsaber makers out there. I remember we were trying to build a special saber for you, and we had a hard time getting good communication with some of these folks. Then there are some people who do these really fancy custom ones.
Yeah, those are like $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah, and wow. Let's see. How much were the Kyber lights?
The Kyber light starts at about $200, and then you can get groups that are. If you buy 2 sabers, you get another deal, and they throw in some parts. But the parts, they're on $20 or $30, and you can buy as many different parts as you need as soon as you buy the one saber. And
so
the handle itself, you can just buy for $129.
And the handles on the Kyber lights are also metal, a nice sturdy material.
Metal, yeah. I know and again, my experience has pretty much only been with Kyber Light. But when they first sent theirs out, that's how I ended up with 2 of them, actually. The first one that was shipped didn't work.
Yeah.
It was fine, but it turned on initially for about 30 seconds, and then it still had sound, but the light went out. So they ended up kind of unexpectedly, they shipped me a whole second unit, and which to this day I think that they had really good customer service, and they really did
customer service has been super excellent.
And it was great. And then a little later I emailed them, and they were actually able to sell me a replacement. It's not a motherboard really, but it's the guts of the thing, the electronics.
Oh, okay.
And so I was able to repair the first one, and that's how I ended up with the 2. And they keep upgrading their product. In fact, there's a new board out now that one of the features that it lacked, and I think this was a lacking feature, was the ability to mute the sound.
Yeah.
And they've actually come up with an upgrade where you can change the system board in it, and it has that capability, and I think adds a few other features as well.
Cool.
So, it just a big part of this, if you're going to drop a few $100s or even a few $1,000s, you want to know that someone's going to stand behind the product, and it seems like both Ultra Saber and Kyber Light, our experiences with that have not been perfect that they've always worked, but it has been perfect in that they've always taken care of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one other little tidbit I'd like to add for all of the people who work security at the Comic-Cons. Some of these lightsabers, like the one I carry, is like $500. I have another one that's even more, and these are not just cheap toys. And I had someone put a
zip tie.
A zip tie on. He scratched my saber, and he put it on so tight that I had to actually damage part of my saber to get it off.
That's not a good thing.
So what I'm asking is, please don't put these things on so tight. Think about that these are really expensive toys, and I appreciated the stickers that were at the Silicon Valley Comic-Con.
Silicon Valley sticker.
Yeah, and there was no damage. I could easily peel it off my saber, and it was fine.
So what Gretchen's talking about, and it's just the day and age we live in, unfortunately, but when you go to a Comic-Con or other shows and you have a thing that looks like a weapon with you, and some of them are very realistic.
Oh, yeah.
You have to go through a process on your way in where it's inspected, and they need some way to be able to tell that they inspected it and that it's safe, and that's where these zip ties came from. And I agree with you. The stickers, In fact, the Silicon Valley Comic-Con offered both, and you could choose which way you wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the stickers were certainly a good option to have, and I agree with you. To have that out there is a very, very wise thing.
Yeah, I really appreciated that, yeah. So yeah, and maybe we can talk more about how we travel with them and some of the containers and stuff that we've figured out. So that could be another show.
Absolutely, no, this is really a good start. So send us your questions. As Jeremy said earlier, one user-friendly on Twitter, one user-friendly on Facebook, userfriendlyshow.com, and then the podcast of this part of the radio show will be up when the radio show goes out. So take a look at it online and give us your feedback, and we will be happy to respond to it. We'll be back after the break.